My protagonist's interest is going to be fencing or swordplay. Hey everybody, Justin Addis here, also known as the Roadside Writer, coming to you from the hot summer days of Virginia. Today, I'm going to do a little bit of a throwback and call on actually the very first video I ever did, where I did 3 interactive activities for a protagonist. I've done a lot of writing help videos, and I realized that I'm probably pretty boring, huh? What you're about to see is something completely different. I'm going to be taking that formula I outlined in my very first video, and I'm going to show you it works. I'm going to prove it to you doing some active writing activities. I'm going to make a protagonist before your very eyes with a 10-minute timer. I'm going to show you this formula is reliable and that you can come up with a solid protagonist using this technique in a very short amount of time. I'm treating the protagonist that I'm going to create right now as the cornerstone of a story, meaning I'm thinking up this protagonist before I think of anything else about the plot. So today we're going to answer the question, can you make a protagonist in 10 minutes? The answer, yes. Don't believe me? Watch. Here comes my personal writing speed run of a protagonist in style. Go. First, you're going to pick an area of interest for your protagonist. This could be just anything he or she is passionate about. This is going to give him some character. Next up are our protagonist's core values. We're going to pick 2 of them. Kind of wide spectrum beliefs that people hold dear to them. I'm going to pick a flaw for my protagonist. Some kind of shortcoming that gives them room for character development and to move the plot along in the story. Or because I love science fiction and fantasy, I'm going to give my protagonist some kind of unique ability. So here I go, a minute to come up with as many broad or specific ideas as I can in each of those categories. Then I'm going to choose which ones to use at random. So I brainstormed some basic aspects for my protagonist using the categories I outlined. Now it's time to have a little bit of fun choosing which ones to use. Now, whichever one of these I hit, my trusty hatchet is the one I'm going to use for an interest for my protagonist. Let's get started. So I may have highly overestimated my skills with my trusty hatchet and its sharpness, so go big or go home. Yeah, did it! Hooray! Protagonist's interest is going to be fencing or swordplay. Gotta get 2 of these. Let's pick. This character cares a whole lot about diplomacy and material wealth. Next up is the flaw for my protagonist, because unlike this video, he's going to have a couple. This is great. Great idea, Justin. Come outside in the heat of the southern summer. Try to axe protagonist qualities. Oh, it's gonna be prejudiced. Last but not least, we're gonna pick a special ability for my character because I love sci-fi and fantasy. Immortal, prejudiced, guy consumed with material wealth. This is good. I'm gonna take the top one. Telekinesis. Let's build this protagonist. The extra time I have left for my 10 abominable minutes, I'm going to take what I got here for my protagonist and put it into as cohesive of a protagonist profile as I can. Just as much detail about them as I can figure out using these. Let's go. Let's take a look at the protagonist I came up with using the randomly selected details from my protagonist activity. His name is Jethro Derrigal. despite the way his name is spelled. Reviewing ease, I've bolded the things that are details I chose from my activities. So, people call him Regal, even though it's pronounced Derigal to get under his skin since he's so regal with his slick lavender velour suit. And of course he loves fencing. I mean, he's the fancy guy. He's a business manager in a modern setting, but there's a sci-fi twist. He's descended from a long line of men with telekinetic abilities. He uses this advantage to shield himself while doing business in dangerous areas, so he can secure deals that no one else could as a business manager. And here's where his diplomacy comes into play. Jethro aims to bridge the gap between the bourgeoisie and the low-income areas through trade. He needs as much money as possible to do this, so of course he cares about material wealth. Not as selfish as a guy as he initially seemed, maybe, but this causes him to sometimes resort to less than savory clients. Gets him into a lot of trouble, despite his good intentions. Jethro's prejudice against the types of people he grew up with, the people of higher social class, because he's known many of them to be two-faced, so he actually distrusts people with money more. Jethro puts on a shady front to blend with those he does business with. So he's not as scummy as he may seem up front. He's a closeted, well-to-do man from a family all the way at the top. Here I even was able to come up with a little bit of backstory. Jethro's drive is motivated by a friend of circumstance who lives in the slums. And they've had a close bond since childhood, so that right there is a scene, how did he meet his friend? What's their connection like? And here's some conflict for you. Despite having his best friend's interests in mind, Jethro and the friend end up on the opposite ends of a bad deal, pitted against one another. Jethro may have to use his telekinetic abilities against a close friend. The end. There you go, guys. 10 minutes, 5 aspects of a protagonist, and I was able to turn it into a viable character that I could build a story around. So these activities, these procedures, they work. Hopefully now that you've seen how exciting it can be, you'll use them for yourself. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support what I do with The Roadside Writer, you can like, subscribe, click the bell icon. You can support me on Patreon. If you need more intense writing help, please visit my website, check out my writing course. All those links are in the description. You can review me on Google, that's in the description too. You guys are gonna see another video about this more in depth later in the week, but basically I'm gonna have to shut down the YouTube channel. I can't afford to keep living this way, making no money and basically just doing something that's free for everyone full time. If you would like to see the channel continue, you can support me on Patreon, and if I get enough support, just that me and my wife can feed ourselves and not just struggle to get by on one person's income, I can continue the channel. If not, it's been a great journey, and I'll leave the videos I've done up for those of you who can benefit from them, but I won't be making any more new videos, so I can get some kind of other part-time job. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great week. Be safe. Roadside Writer, out.